Anatoli Bugorski, 1978, Protvino, USSR. A nuclear physicist working on the U-70 synchrotron, the Soviet Union's largest particle accelerator. While inspecting a malfunction, he placed his head in the path of the proton beam. Due to a safety interlock failure, a 76 giga-electron-volt beam punched through his skull. He reported seeing a flash brighter than 1,000 suns, but felt no physical pain. The entry dose was 200,000 rads, with 300,000 at the exit, hundreds of times the lethal limit. The beam burned a precise hole through his occipital lobe and face. His face swelled beyond recognition, and the skin eventually peeled away to reveal the beam's internal path. Defying all medical expectations, he survived, finished his PhD, and remains alive today. Remarkably, the left side of his face remains wrinkle-free, as the radiation permanently halted the local aging process. Routing an atomic beam through your cranium is an effective CPU upgrade. Truman, Duncan, 2006, Texas, USA. During a routine rail coupling, Truman slipped and fell beneath a moving train. The wheels of a multi-ton car rolled directly over his midsection, effectively severing his body in two. Miraculously, the immense weight of the train and the cold steel acted as a giant clamp, cauterizing his major arteries and preventing him from bleeding out in seconds. Despite being in profound shock, Truman reached for his cell phone and dialed emergency services. He calmly gave his coordinates to the dispatcher while lying in two separate pieces. He endured 23 surgeries over 4 months, losing both legs and a kidney, but he survived. Today, he drives a car and lives a full life, defying every law of trauma medicine.
Your willpower reassembled what physics attempted to dismantle.
Aron Ralston, 2003, Utah, USA. On April 26th, Aron was solo canyoneering in Blue John Canyon. An 800-pound boulder shifted, pinning his right arm against the canyon wall. He had only 12 ounces of water and 2 burritos. By the 5th day, suffering from hallucinations and extreme dehydration, he realized his trapped arm was necrotizing. To escape, he used his body weight as a lever to snap his radius and ulnar bones. The sound echoed like a gunshot. He then used a dull pocket knife from a cheap multi-tool. He had to manually slice through his own tendons and the ulnar nerve, arguably the most intense pain a human can process. The amputation took over an hour. Bleeding out, he rappelled down a 65-foot wall and hiked 7 miles through the desert until he found a family of hikers. He lost 25% of his total blood volume, but survived. Your survival instinct is far sharper than a budget pocket knife. Michael Packard, 21, Massachusetts, USA. An experienced lobster diver was submerged at 45 feet off the coast of Cape Cod. Suddenly, he felt a massive shove, followed by total darkness. He initially thought a great white had attacked him, but felt no teeth. It soon clicked. He was inside the mouth of a humpback whale. Although a humpback whale can reach 50 feet in length, it is physically unable to swallow a human. Its throat is only about 15 inches wide. Furthermore, it lacks sharp teeth that could cause any injury to Michael. Packard spent about 30 seconds inside, breathing through his scuba regulator in the dark. Feeling the intruder, the whale breached the surface, shook its massive head, and spat Michael back into the Atlantic. He walked away with only deep bruising and a dislocated knee, becoming a global headline for surviving the belly of the beast. Being rejected by a whale for poor taste is a rare talent. Roy Sullivan, 1942 to 1977, Virginia, USA. The Shenandoah National Park Ranger who became a living statistical anomaly. Between 1942 and 1977, he was struck by lightning 7 distinct times. The first strike tore off a toenail. In 1969, a bolt hit him while driving, singeing his eyebrows and hair. In 1970, he was struck in his own front yard, searing his shoulder. By 1972, his hair caught fire again, leading him to carry a jug of water everywhere. In 1973, a bolt seemingly hunted him down as he exited his truck. In 1976, the 6th bolt struck while he was walking a trail, severely injuring his ankle. His 7th strike occurred in 1977 during a fishing trip, causing chest and stomach burns. The mathematical odds of 7 direct hits are 1 in 10 to the 28th power. His internal organs endured extreme thermal stress 7 times over, yet he never lost his will to live. Your persistence in attracting high voltage is an inspiration to my battery pack. Tsutomu Yamaguchi, 1945, Japan. On August the 6th, the engineer was in Hiroshima on a business trip, just 1.8 miles from the Little Boy detonation. The flash seared the left side of his body and ruptured his eardrums. After a night in a shelter, he managed to catch a train to his hometown, Nagasaki. On August 9th, while in his office describing the Hiroshima blast to his supervisor, he saw the same blinding flash. Fat Man had arrived. Again, he was exactly 1.8 miles from ground zero. The 21 kiloton blast leveled his surroundings, but he survived a second time. Tsutomu lived to be 93, becoming a prominent anti-nuclear activist and a symbol of human resilience against the force of the atom. You are officially the most difficult client death has ever attempted to collect. Vesna Vulović, 1972, Srpska Kamenica, Czechoslovakia. On January 26th, Jet Flight 367 was cruising at 33,330 feet. A briefcase bomb in the forward cargo hold tore the fuselage apart. Vesna, a 22-year-old flight attendant, was pinned by a catering cart in the tail section. Her freefall lasted a record-breaking 3 minutes and 15 seconds. Due to her naturally low blood pressure, she blacked out instantly, which prevented her heart from bursting during the rapid depressurization. The tail section struck a snow-covered slope at a 45-degree angle, diffusing the impact. The 6-foot-deep snow acted as a massive cushion. Despite a fractured skull and 3 crushed vertebrae that initially paralyzed her, she made a full recovery and lived for another 44 years. It appears gravity took a personal day during your descent. Harrison Okene, 2013, Nigeria, Atlantic Ocean. At 5 a.m., the tugboat Jascon 4 capsized in heavy seas and settled 100 feet deep on the ocean floor. Harrison, the ship's cook, was trapped in a small bathroom that formed a tiny air pocket. At that depth, the pressure is 4 times higher than at sea level, risking nitrogen narcosis. The water was a freezing 45 degrees, leading to rapid hypothermia. He spent 60 hours in total darkness, chest deep in water, breathing air with toxic levels of carbon dioxide buildup. He could hear sharks scavenging in the adjacent cabins. When South African divers searching for corpses saw a hand, they were terrified until Harrison gripped the diver's glove. His rescue is a legendary case study in human survival under extreme pressure. Your commitment to breathing clearly bypassed standard biological limits. Joe Simpson, 1985, Peruvian Andes. While descending the Ciula Grande, Joe shattered his leg. His partner, Simon, tried to lower him down the mountain in a blizzard. However, Joe became suspended over a massive precipice. Believing Joe was already dead and fearing for his own life, Simon cut the rope. Joe fell 100 feet into a freezing crevasse. With no food and a mangled leg, Joe didn't give up. He descended further into the ice, found an exit, and spent 4 days crawling across the glacier and jagged rocks. He reached the base camp just hours before Simon was set to leave. His story, documented in Touching the Void, remains the definitive example of human endurance in the high-altitude death zone. You turned a hopeless fall into a very long walk. Bahia Bakari, 2009, Comoros Islands. Flight 626 was on its final approach when 12-year-old Bahia pressed her forehead against the window, searching for the runway lights. A split second later, the plane was gone. She wasn't just saved. She was violently ejected through the disintegrating fuselage at the exact moment of impact. While 152 souls were dragged to the abyss by the sinking wreckage, Bahia found herself alone in the midnight ocean. Her first thought, "Mom is going to be mad that I didn't wear my seatbelt." She had no idea there was nothing left to buckle into. For 13 hours, she clung to a piece of debris, unable to swim, surrounded by toxic jet fuel and voices that slowly faded into the dark. Local fishermen finally pulled her from the water, suffering from a broken collarbone, deep fuel burns, and severe hypothermia, the only person out of 153 to make it back to shore. She thought she broke a rule. In reality, she broke the laws of probability. Who was the luckiest? Let's argue in the comments. Subscribe for more anomalies. Stay safe. Out.